Alright, so this is going to be a core / intro review. Alright, you took the core test yesterday. A couple things just to review. So this is what we're doing with the refrigeration cycle right here. This is how it's mostly split up in most homes. You have the indoor unit, which holds the evaporator, indoor coil, and the metering device, and then the outdoor unit holds the compressor and the condensing coil. Alright, the compressor is usually in the center, and then the condensing coil is flown around it. And then what happens is the heat that gets absorbed in the evaporator, alright, gets rejected out here at the condenser. Alright, so the heat, the air that's moving in the house never comes in contact with the air that's outside of the house. The way it does it is that the heat gets transferred to the refrigerant, and then the refrigerant's pumped through the line set out to the outdoor unit. And then that outdoor unit will take the refrigerant and remove the heat from it, and then send it back to the indoor unit. Alright, so that's one way that it's drawn up. The names for the four components: you got your compressor, and then that's connected to the next component through the discharge line. Think about that as the gas getting kicked out, so kicked out means to discharge. And then that flows into the condenser, where the condenser does three things: desuperheats the gas, then it condenses the refrigerant, in other words, changes it to a liquid by removing the latent heat. And then after all the latent heat's removed and it's fully condensed, then it subcools the liquid, cooling it below the saturation temperature. Alright, and then all that liquid's fed into the liquid line. The liquid line houses most of the accessories for refrigeration systems, like a filter dryer, sight glass, receiver. And then the metering device is the other division from the high to the low side. So it goes from high pressure liquid to low pressure liquid. And the meter devices nowadays are connected pretty much right to the evaporator coil through distributor tubes. They used to have a line called an expansion line between there, but now most of them just go through these tubes right into the evaporator coil. Evaporator absorbs the heat from the space, causing the refrigerant to boil or evaporate, and as the refrigerant boils off, that vapor gets carried back through the suction line, and that's superheated vapor. So that's the four components and the three lines that connect them. When you see it in most books, they draw it out so that they'll show you like a compressor, and then the discharge line connects with a hot, high-pressure gas, desuperheats the gas, condenses it to a liquid. Liquid flows to the meter device. In this case, it's the TXV. TXV is tied right to the evaporator, so the high pressure changes to low pressure, and low pressure liquid starts to boil off as soon as it goes to the evaporator, and then it ties back to a common suction header, which goes all the way back to the compressor. So that's the way it's drawn out, but it's not the best way to remember the cycle. It kind of is a little confusing that way. So they tell you the best way is the baseball diamond. We'll show the four basic components. The baselines will be the pipe, and we can identify that half the system's under high pressure and half the system's under low pressure. So draw out the diamond, because they're going to ask you, depending on the test, that you get at least 2 or 3 questions about this cycle. So the home plate will be our most expensive component, the one that does all the work, the compressor, and then that makes the first baseline, the discharge line, hot, high pressure vapor coming out, gets desuperheated, where then it will start to condense, and then it'll change from a gas to a liquid, and then that liquid will continue to be cooled down, and that subcooled liquid will feed into the liquid line, where you can have some accessories on that line. Meter device is the other part of the high and low division side of the system. Compressor is one half, meter device is the other half. So that high pressure liquid flows through the meter device and then goes right into the evaporator, where it absorbs the heat from the space, boiling the gas, and that superheated vapor gets carried back to the suction line. So they could ask you, the component that changes high pressure gas to high pressure liquid is what? What's the high pressure gas to high pressure liquid component? Which one of these four would change high pressure gas to high pressure liquid?
Compressor.
The condenser. The condenser, yeah, the condenser. So, and then what component changes it from low pressure liquid to low pressure gas? The exact opposite of that. The evaporator, yeah. So what's coming out of the condenser? What do we got? Liquid. And then what's the pressure? It's in red, so that means it is high pressure liquid, and that liquid has been subcooled. So it's high pressure subcooled liquid leaving the outlet of the condensing unit, or entering the metering device. But more than likely, they're going to ask you about this right here. And then the state pressure and condition of the refrigerant returning back to the compressor. What's the state of the refrigerant going back to the compressor? It's low pressure. Yep, so it's a low pressure. What is it though?
Superheated vapor.
Superheated vapor. Low pressure, superheated vapor. Yep, so there you go. Low pressure, superheated vapor is returning to the compressor. Vapor. Alright, those are the two that you're going to need to know more than likely the conditions and the state of the refrigerant. You should know it all though.